Beran. Welcome to this new series of Founders Coffee Chat. And I would like you to just give us an insight of first to say, introduce yourself and what your startup is all about. By the way, my name is Jazel Cole and you're welcome. I'll give the floor over to Beran.
Thank you Jazel for having me, and thank you for considering the Hub as one of those institutions worth covering on your show. Startup Grind is not a new partner to us. We've been working together for quite a while now. And my name is Beran Dondeh Gillen, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of the Hub, which is an innovation space, a co-working space, and also an incubator and an accelerator. We support entrepreneurs throughout their journey from ideation to growth, but we also focus a lot on capacity building, not just for entrepreneurs, but for young people, and of recent a focus on girls and women, and also on institutions in the area of digital skills and technology and digital transformation.
Wonderful. That's really good to know, Beran. Not to waste any time, can you just tell us, now that you've mentioned to us what your startup is all about, the Hub, can you tell us what are the challenges that you're facing in having this to be able to achieve this particular goal?
I think everyone who knows how hubs operate or innovation spaces operate, these are usually spaces that partner with institutions that are willing to maybe have some level of impact in terms of the work that they're doing. They can be for-profit or non-profit, depending on the setup of the space. But I would say in terms of challenges, there are many. But the reason why we're still in the game is because we're passionate about what we do, and once we see that impact and see those numbers, it really keeps you going. Challenges, maybe I'll start with support and just understanding what we do and having the right partnerships. We're getting more of that now, but maybe when we started, if you go back 5 years ago when we started the Hub, it was very difficult in terms of partnership elements, and also in terms of just understanding our service portfolio, because co-working is still relatively, I would say, new in Gambia.
Yeah.
People still prefer their own office spaces to actually walking into a co-working space, when there's so many reasons why one should take a co-working space, especially for an entrepreneur that probably is on their own or has probably a team of 3 or less, or even less than 5. Co-working spaces tend to take a lot off of you in terms of the overhead. You don't have to worry about calling a plumber when the water's not running. You don't have to worry about an electrician when the AC is not running. You don't have to worry about cash power or even having power at all. At the Hub, we have all of that covered, because we not only have cash power, but we also have a backup power supply in the form of solar. And so co-working is still something new, so people don't understand it as much, and I think it's still a service portfolio that we're still trying to make headway in the ecosystem. But I think we get a lot more traffic from people who are coming from abroad and do understand that service and really take advantage of it. So we get a really good spike in terms of November, December-ish, January, when people are here for the holidays, and then they tend to stay over a little bit more to work from here to really spend more time with family. So that's a service portfolio we struggle with sometimes. In other parts as well, we struggle with the internet, of course, because when you're in innovation space, you're working a lot on innovative technology or innovative products, which requires good, stable connectivity. So connectivity is a challenge sometimes, but we actually have two connections here at the Hub, just to ensure that at any point in time, if there's failure on one, there's a switch over to another. Another challenge that we have is power, but again, like I said, we got that covered by ensuring that we have a solar installed, which comes really handy when we have these failures with our primary source of electricity.
Well, that's very good. That's very good. I mean, like you mentioned, Ali, you said power, and that is one thing that we are struggling with, not only in the hub or at a particular space where you have in the hub, but generally in the country we are struggling with power. So that is one difficult challenge that everybody is facing, whatever business you find yourself in. But there's one thing that you mentioned about, which is that has to do with sponsorship, and also that has to do with a level of awareness when it comes to co-working spaces. And I agree with you, it is something that is not really well known. So I think there should be more awareness in that space. But also going forward, you talked about passion is what really is driving you in doing what you're doing. So in that sense, to go to my next question that has to do with what are your goals for the hub in the future. And so not literally for the future, but what are your goals, what are you trying to achieve? Just to say, because passion is driving you, I know you would definitely have goals that you want to achieve. So what are those goals that you wish to achieve with the hub as a founder?
I think for us, our vision is quite straightforward and simple in terms of really what we want to achieve is to ensure that digital skills reaches the corners of the globe. So as the hub, as an innovation space, we would want to be a part of that journey as much as far as it can reach. And just to give you some kind of a background, one of the programs that we're currently running that we curated ourselves internally is called Dondeh Gillen. And Dondeh Gillen is a program that we curated 2 years ago and presented to a partner who funded a pilot of the program. And the program targets young girls that have dropped out of high school, but focusing in the rural areas. And dropped out of high school for many reasons: financial reasons, early marriage, social reasons. And for the pilot, we identified about 21 girls in Buyam. And we ran the program for about 6 to 8 months. And during that time, we trained them on digital skills and a few generic, I would say, admin skills. And then we assessed them based on the level of interactions we had with them. And through that assessment, we were able to put them into 2 tracks. One was entrepreneurship, the other one was employability. So through interviews and one-on-ones, we were able to determine those who had the entrepreneurial spirit to move on to actually set up their own businesses. Some already had existing businesses that they were running. And then we had some that went through the employability. So we trained them on admin skills, customer service, communication. And then we partnered them with our partners, AfriCell, we thanked them, and QCell, and Q Money as well, who took them on board as customer service agents in their customer service centers in Brikama, here in Combo, as well as in Buyam as well. So we had about 7 girls attached to that, and then another 14 that were running their businesses. And with the businesses, we went through a boot camp entrepreneurship training with them in Buyam. All the trainings were done in Buyam. We went there, and then we set up their businesses for them. We registered the businesses, we prepared business cards for them, and then we created business linkages for them. Now with these business linkages, we were able to connect them to a huge customer base, not just in Buyam, but also in the Combos, where they were able to expand their business portfolio. So some of them were in providing or supplying fish, some of them were charcoal sellers, some of them were juice sellers, and some of them were seasonal food sellers. And so we are still monitoring them, and during the course of the program we were able to bring in other local partners. We were able to bring in InnovaRx Global. They came on board and trained all the 21 girls on basic first aid, and also onboarded them on their system as commission-based agents for Buyam, for all their distributions in Buyam in terms of medical supply and medical products. And then we also brought on board another partner called Sony Transfer, which is a money transfer agent. They came on board and provided grants to all the entrepreneurial recipients. So each recipient came on board and was able to receive $5,000, which was from Sony Transfer and an individual that chooses to remain anonymous. An individual woman, a Gambian woman that's really supporting some of the initiatives that we're running in terms of women in business. And they supported these 14 women with grants of $5,000 each, which they were able to also use towards their businesses. All in all, it was a great pilot program, I think, and those are the kind of programs that I see being scaled across the Gambia and across the region. And in my opinion, these are the kinds of programs that create true impact and actually do empower women economically going forward.
You mentioned that the program is called Dondeh Gillen.
Yes.
So
Yes.
just to say for our viewers or audience that don't really know what Dondeh Gillen is, can you
Yeah.
just say in English what it means, translated in English?
Yeah, so Dondeh Gillen means really empowering the woman. That's what it means.
Wonderful, yeah.
In
So
the
in,
language.
in that, I mean, so that's your goal, to empower women, girls and women in the community where you find yourself in. And that's very good, because looking at the status quo, we find out that women are underprivileged in the sense that they don't really have that much support, especially from family, to either achieve their goals or pursue their dreams in whatever they are doing. So going forward, what is the future plan? Where do you want to take the hub to? What's your future plan for the hub? I know at the beginning you mentioned that it is a co-working space, an innovation hub, an accelerator likewise. So is there any plans to come up with an accelerator program for startups or maybe for entrepreneurs that themselves that are finding that we want to found a startup or something like that?
We've actually just finished running an accelerator program for the International Trade Center under their YEAR program, which is the youth entrepreneurship program. They have a youth community called the YEAR community. And of recent, they partnered with the UN CCD, that's the climate change part of the UN that's in charge of climate change. And they funded a program called the YEAR Ecopreneur program, which targets specifically businesses that are in the green business area and land restoration. And what we did in partnership with the YEAR program, or the YEAR Ecopreneur program, was the hub was chosen out of many hubs that applied around the world globally. We were one of 5 hubs that were chosen to run an accelerator program for these 125 entrepreneurs that were shortlisted from hundreds of applications around the world. And these 125 entrepreneurs were split across the 5 hubs that were chosen, and the hub was one of those hubs that was partnered with. And we looked after 25 entrepreneurs across 9 countries in Africa. And we accelerated them through a program for 3 months, during which time they went through about 8 master classes, and also went through some one-on-one mentoring and coaching with us. And at the end, the 125 entrepreneurs were shortlisted, and from that shortlist, our group, 3 entrepreneurs from our group made it to the finals.
Wow.
And they made it to Geneva to attend the finals and pitch their business in the finals. And we're happy to say that we're still following those 3 entrepreneurs and still keeping in touch with them. In fact, when you came in today, you met a program that we're running called Technovation Girls.
Okay.
And one of the people who's going to be supporting one of the projects we're doing on waste and upcycling is one of the entrepreneurs based in Ghana called Trash Coin, who will be supporting one of our girls' projects here called Green Girls, who's also working on a waste recycling project for the Technovation Girls initiative.
That's good. I'm really thrilled to know this, and I'm glad that the hub is not only impacting the communities in Gambia, but also communities across Africa, which I think it's what the broader picture should be. So I believe that the plan for the future is for you to impact a wider audience, not only in the Gambia, but also to reach more and more communities across Africa. And that is wonderful to know, and I'm glad that you've explained to us exactly what the hub is about, what your goals are for the hub, and what the future plans you have for the hub. Now, we know you double up as an ecosystem builder. Anybody that knows Beran Dondeh Gillen will know that you have a lot of impact when it comes to the tech ecosystem in Gambia. And I would like us to just touch a little bit on that, to just say, what do you think, or what is your own take on the importance that tech hubs, in particular innovation hubs, what are the importance, or what role do they play in helping and building the ecosystem to thrive, and particularly in the Gambia and across Africa likewise?
Innovation hubs are, I always say, they're the brain boxes of ideas and ideas in any country. And every government and institution, private and public, should support innovation hubs in some way. So I'll give you an example. Many governments around the world now actually internalize innovation hubs in their spaces. And what I mean internalize is they leverage on innovation hubs to be able to come up with not just ideas, but be able to prototype and finally implement solutions to everyday problems for the public sector as well as the private sector. You have banks that actually have an internal innovation department that is maybe either they outsource this area because they don't have the staffing, or they bring in people who already have an existing innovation hub to be an extension of their network, to be able to leverage on those ideas, those innovative ideas, and then be able to add it as part of their strategic planning and goals. And you see a lot more companies are now leveraging on ideas coming from innovation hubs. So you see them sponsoring innovation hubs. You see them sponsoring pitching competitions, because at the end of the day, they want to see those ideas and see how those ideas can add value to their products and service portfolio as banks, as the Ports Authority, as Social Security, because these are all institutions that eventually will be driven by systems that come from ideas that are built from technology. So innovation is the brain of every country, I believe, and all innovation hubs should be supported by the public sector and the private sector. And there are many ways that they can support. Support is not always about money. It's not always about money. It's about access. It's about being able to have access to systems. If, for example, I'm supporting entrepreneurs in the fintech space, I should be able to tap into APIs from banks, from microfinance institutions, from mobile wallets. So these are the kinds of support that we need sometimes. Sometimes it's not always about handing over cash. Sometimes it's about support in the form of a policy. Sometimes it's support in the form of a regulation that supports the startup ecosystem. Sometimes it's in the form of a startup act that actually gives those startups that tax break to be able to operate within 2-3 years without having to worry about paying tax and just focusing on building their business. So support comes in many ways, and I believe the role that the innovation hubs play in an ecosystem is very vital and cannot be overstated. And the program that you found running today, the Technovation Girls program, is also another example. These are 13-year-old girls that come here every Saturday, and they're working on a project. We have 4 groups of girls, each with a project. One is on waste and recycling, one is on intrusion and detection. They came up with these projects on their own. And these are all girls coming from public schools with zero background in technology, zero background in programming. We brought them in when they didn't even know how to turn on a laptop. We are spending 9 months with them, and during these 9 months, we're going to teach them how to code. We already have. They're building their mobile apps. And then they're going to be presenting these mobile apps that are going to be working on these projects. One of our sponsors, we thank them very much, is UNESCO, who is a partner in this program. And eventually we will have a pitching competition where these girls will present these projects, and they will have the opportunity to participate in a world summit that will be held in California in October. So these are the kinds of the programs that give exposure to young girls, young people in general, gives the technology exposure that they would never dream of having. And not only that, but build their soft skills to be able to stand in front of a crowd and defend an idea. And that is priceless.
Of course, I agree with you 100%. I follow the same sentiments with you when it comes to innovation hubs in the role that they have to play in building an ecosystem. Because for me, like I said, I think, like you said, Rana, it's the live beat of every tech ecosystem. And it's one belief that I have that if we have more tech ecosystems or innovation hubs within the Gambia, especially, it will help in building our ecosystem to the level that we want it to be. But also, you made mention, when I was listening to you, you were talking more of women. I understand that. We were dealing with a woman founder, so we can understand that. But in all of your plans and your programs, I'm asking, do you have any program, or do you accommodate male likewise to be able to see how? Because I know in Ghana right now, most of the tech founders are male, but it's good to see that women are coming on board, and I'm glad to know that and see that women are on board. But then just to hear from you, do you have any of them like male that you have?
Yes, of course. I just happened to mention Technovation Girls and Dondeh Gillen. But all our entrepreneurship programs and our accelerator programs are actually dominated by male-owned businesses. And we of recent have been very I would say, intentional in supporting programs that are focused on girls, simply because of that. Because we see that a lot of the businesses are male-owned businesses, and we want to see more of the women businesses, especially in the tech space. And that's part of the encouragement that we offer, to be able to focus on these programs and build from the grassroots, so that by the time we talk 3, 4, 5 years down the line, when we're running those accelerator programs, we now start seeing those female founders coming up on the tech side. So it's actually intentional that we do that, to be able to really just get more of the female founders on board in terms of the tech ecosystem. But no, we're not biased, we're here for the men as well as the women.
Of course I know that. And I agree with you, like I said earlier, like most of the founders you have are male. And it's good that you're trying to bridge that gap to bring more female founders into the tech ecosystem, which is really brilliant.